Welcome to Rams Talk Riz. Derek Ciapala with my co-host, my partner in crime, Norm Hightower, Deuce, Michael Stewart II, and Coach Michael Stewart, former Rams defensive back. We're here to talk about the Rams' 34-0 win over the Saints in their second preseason game. Guys, first things first, Coach, I'm going to go the right way because you played these games. Does 34-0 in the preseason even matter?
Not at all, especially this. I don't know what the Saints are doing, but anyway, preseason now is just somewhat difficult for me to even kind of watch. Yes, you may want to see maybe a young guy, but typically, again, I date myself. Back in the day, you had to earn it. So you were actually going to play against some of the guys playing. I just don't know that it really benefits. I know teams are trying to make sure guys don't get injured, but you got to make sure guys are ready to play the season. I just would like it go back to, but not playing any of your guys and just playing basically rookies and guys that aren't really going to be there. I don't know the benefit of that.
Norm, you're an old hound as well. Just can't talk tonight, man. You can't talk. Help me out here. Do you feel the same as Coach, or is it something you want to see out of the preseason?
I think the only thing it shows is that maybe our second and third teamers are better than theirs, meaning we might have a little more depth. But other than that, it really doesn't mean anything. It's, offense is very vanilla, defense is very vanilla, but you get to see hints of who might be a player that might have a chance to make the team and who probably isn't gonna.
Deuce, what did you see yesterday?
Yeah, I agree with what Norm said. You want to see backups and other guys that potentially could be on the roster be able to come in and contribute. So, this is an opportunity for guys to earn a spot and show that they belong, or, maybe potentially enter, the rotation in regards to being a regular player, not just a special teamer. So I think overall, like Norm said, obviously we clearly have a better roster than the Saints do, but you like to see a lot of positive performances, which we saw from several guys yesterday.
All right, so looking at this game itself, we're not going to get knee deep into all the stats. We want to get to some of the things that our fans probably want to talk about. Stats right away: Stetson Bennett, 19-31, 181 yards. Ty Simpson's 8-12 for 73 yards. Jacquez Hunter, 12 carries, 68 yards, 5.7 to carry, 1 rushing touchdown. Right with him, 10 carries, 54 yards for Jordan Waters, the guy from North Carolina State they picked up. At the receiver position, you have Chase Daniels. Get it right? Taking it right? Did I? 8 catches, 68 yards.
CJ Daniels.
Sorry, I keep thinking about the quarterback. 8 catches, 68 yards, 4 first downs, 13 targets. Bachman at 4-48. Scott 3-36. But the big one there has to be 8-68 with CJ Daniels. Going down to kicking, punting, everything's fine there. The big one yesterday, the interception return for a touchdown from safety Alex Cook. That's a big one. 100 yards, played with Carolina 3 years ago. So not new to the league, made a play. Guys, overall, looking at some of these key performances, I want to talk to you first about the quarterbacks. And Deuce, I'm going to you first. We talked a lot last week about Ty Simpson, about his performance the first game. Looked fine this game, but the word we're hearing is Stetson Bennett does have the lead on the number 2 position right now. How do you feel about both quarterbacks, especially since Jimmy Garoppolo is not there?
Yeah, to see Bennett have a good performance yesterday just shows that we got depth in that room. And so I think you're seeing both Simpson and him emerging, getting better. Obviously, they have time where they're not having to rush with, Stafford still being on the squad. And so I think they're learning, they're growing, and they're getting more comfortable and confident within the offense. So it was nice to see a solid all-around performance by them. And I think it's ultimately in the long run just going to make those guys better, just having that healthy competition.
Coach.
I absolutely, I want to echo and agree with Duke's comments. And then I want to go a little bit with Norm in regards to what is going to matter and what's not. Now, I think what's an advantage in this situation is when you have your starting quarterback solidified, these guys are actually getting reps to get better and then see who is going to be in that backup. I think that's in having a little bit more of the experience. Probably may jump in there, and then Ty may be the next one. But I think if teams, I'm starting to feel like some of these teams are starting to go back to the old way. Don't bring a guy in who has to play right away. Let him get in there and learn a little bit, sit for a year or two, maybe even 3. So now you're ready to go. You got the intricacies of, practice and camp, off season. And so now when it's your time, you're ready, as opposed to throwing a guy out there and hope that he does well. But it looks like, Stetson had a solid game, and I could see him being the number 2.
Norm.
I see both quarterbacks being serviceable in the season as a backup if need be. Simpson's really impressed me just with his I would say pocket presence and how mature he is in the pocket. I watched him yesterday step up a couple times when he had pressure. He knows when to leave the pocket. He seems to feel pressure from behind. Bennett did really well too. I think Simpson's got a little more accurate arm, but Bennett knows the playbook a little bit better. Bennett did make a couple of nice kind of lofty passes over the defense. But both guys actually looked really good, and that's a confidence builder going into the season. As far as who's in the lead, I'd say Bennett has to be just for experience, but Simpson's not that far behind.
Call me nervous. Like, I have to be the Debbie Downer, right? What we call Derek Downer. I'm not even sure it's that. I'm concerned about, we had a guy last year that we did trust as backup in Garoppolo. We did trust him. We knew he wouldn't blow a season for us if he caught in the game. We have Stetson Bennett, the guy who we have no idea what happened in his life, that he's gone for a whole season last year. He's now your number 2, and your rookie quarterback who needs a lot of seasoning, yet who we're becoming increasingly high on. Don't get me wrong, we're getting higher on him. But I'm guys, this is supposed to be a Super Bowl season. I'm not comfortable with this backfield. If Stafford happens to get hurt, knock on wood, are you comfortable with these two in a Super Bowl year? Potential Super Bowl year? Dude, just help me out here. I mean, are you comfortable? No? Yes?
I wouldn't have been comfortable with Garoppolo, so
I would have been much more comfortable with him. He's been there at least.
He's that much better, to be honest. No, we just have to pray to the football gods that Matthew Stafford doesn't get hurt.
Coach?
Derek, you bring up a great point, because remember last year Stafford was having some back issues. And then it seemed like, he just kind of gutted through, and I guess it got better. But again, you're a year older. Is that back thing still something lingering in the background? And yeah, you could see, Super Bowl or bust year could go south pretty quick if you now have to go to one of these guys game 2, game 3, for an extended period of time. It could be pretty hectic. Norm, you didn't want to go with Garoppolo?
Not a big fan of Garoppolo's.
He played fine when he got in the game last year. Deuce, what do you think?
I want to be cautiously optimistic because, again, we've seen neither of these guys in a regular season game. And so it's totally different than having these preseason performances. You want to see what they do against the other starters if they have to come in that situation. So it's really just an unknown thing that we hope we don't have to explore this season. But if anything, if preseason is a glimpse of what we can expect from them in the regular season, then we can feel good about that. I'm with Norm. I wasn't super high on Garoppolo either. Obviously, he's been around the league for a long time, but I can't trust him in big moments. And so hopefully, if it runs into a situation where, Bennett or Simpson has to come in, that the moment's not too big for them if they have to come in for an extended period of time. So I want to say that we're in, relatively decent shape if these preseason games are a glimpse of what we could expect if they need to play this season.
And I'm going to knock on wood a little bit and say we had a year that we looked like we were Super Bowl bound and our starting quarterback went down and some nobody from a grocery store came in and took us to a Super Bowl. So we can always hope that same thing can happen again. We don't want it to, but you never know what you got until you have to play them. And we're not going to know that until something happens. Knock on wood, we hope it doesn't. But if it does, then I know that at that point, we're going to figure it out. And I think these two young guys are capable. They might not be Pro Bowls guys, but they're capable.
Yeah, but that nobody didn't disappear for a year. The years due to some kind of personal reason. That guy was out there trying
I'm
to play
not talking
football.
about him either. I think Simpson will be a better quarterback in the long run.
Fair.
So how about this? If something were to happen to Stafford, do you go out in the marketplace and get somebody like a Russell Wilson?
Do you have faith that Russell Wilson can by now? Given the
Well,
way he played the last 3 years?
Mayfield came and caught genie in a bottle. So, maybe for a serviceable person that can come in right now, maybe you go out and get a Case Keenum or someone like that. I don't know. What you think? Would you trade for somebody?
I think McVay will roll with what we have, to be honest.
Yeah, if I had saw more productivity from a consistency with someone like a Wilson, then I would say, why not? But he just doesn't seem like he's invested into being great anymore. And so I just don't think his passion is there. Obviously, the play has regressed. So I would just go with who we have here and just see what happens, because I think we have enough around any of the backup quarterbacks to still be able to win games.
Let's quit dooming Stafford, though, and talk about some positive stuff.
I mean, I'm not. Jeez, I didn't want to go that route, but it's just that in the back of your mind, you're thinking about, okay, well, am I really, really, in the end, just comfortable with the quarterback situation as it is, because the roster is built to win this year? And how many times have we seen a team with Super Bowl hopes or even playoff hopes? Look at last year with Washington; their whole entire season's wrecked through the quarterback, and then more injuries with that, but. It started with their quarterback, Jaden Daniels. They're a team that was expected to at least compete for a playoff spot, and they were horrible. He's out most of the year. So I just look at that and go, the quarterback is the heart of your team. Everything kind of falls in line behind that. And if he's out, then, there's a problem. And by the way, coach, it's a degenerative back condition. That thing can flare up at any time. So it's not done.
We may have to just go out there and get that disgruntled guy, Baker Mayfield, bring him back.
So they got the magic trailer.
The magic trailer. All right. So let's talk about some other things too. Running backs. We saw yesterday, Jacquez Hunter, Jordan Waters. They're your third, fourth, fifth string. Okay, they didn't play Derek Rivers either. How are you guys feeling about these running backs they have in the stable right now?
I don't know about y'all, but Waters really got me amped up a little bit yesterday. That guy's got some thump. He hits the line hard. He was carrying tacklers with him. I was actually more impressed with him than I was with Hunter.
Coach.
Well, I just don't, it's a numbers thing. I mean, you got Kyron, you have Blake, you got Ronnie Rivers. I would think is pretty solid. He's a special teamer as well. Jaquez Hunter. I mean, are you going to carry 5 running backs, or is this going to be a practice squad situation? So I just think at this point it's a numbers game, and I don't see them. I don't know how they're going to leapfrog the guys that are already there.
Deuce.
Yeah, it's just a crowded running back room. And so, again, it's one of those things. If you like Hunter or Waters better than Rivers, then obviously they'll bring him in and slide him into the third stall. But you obviously have 2 standout backs that have separated themselves from the other guys. But you want to see, like I said, positive plays from everybody. And so I think we've seen that collectively amongst not only the running back group, but other groups as well. So got to be happy with the performance. You'd rather have the options of, having to deal with maybe cutting somebody who, can play and can help you versus trying to find guys to fill voids. So we have good problems that we got to deal with, but there's going to definitely be some tough decisions made when these cuts happen.
This is a great problem to have. How often do we have major running back injuries in this league? Every year. And again, the second time here, knock on wood, I'm not saying that or anything, not trying to wish that on this team, but having that kind of depth in your running back room, considering what's at stake this season, I'm okay with that. I'm actually really happy with that. Rather it be that's a good problem to have than a running back room where you have one guy and a bunch of nobodies, so you have no idea what they're capable of and they don't show you anything. And that was the case a couple of years ago. Before Kyron really kind of stepped up, we didn't know who we had, and the running game paid for it. So I'm glad. I'm happy for it. But
my only concern right now is left tackle. That's where I'm concerned. I think we need to go out and get Decker myself.
Still sitting out there too?
Yeah, he's the best choice. And Jackson, we can let him go next year. He's going to have to finish out his season, but he may get 8-game suspension this year. And if he does, what are we going to do? Depend on our rookie or our right tackle going to left tackle and our rookie playing right tackle? That doesn't sound very exciting to me. So to me, my concern is left tackle. I think we're deep at wide receiver. We're deep at running back. We're okay at quarterback. Offensive line overall, I think we're okay. But left tackle's got me scared.
Do we just lose coach?
He's coming back.
Got you, coach. So he's back. Coach, you have any final thoughts on that before we move on?
No, I'm with Norm, man. But yeah, 8-game suspension or whatever else, they need to get that figured out. Again, now you're down to 2 more weeks before you got to go out there, and those bullets are real live. And going back to Deuce's point in regards to the quarterbacks, it's a whole lot different than playing against guys you might have played against last year in college, as opposed to playing the dudes that are coming. So the bullets are live. It's still, you're in the pros, but you're not going against some of the big dogs. And so I don't know how you can really evaluate again when you're just playing against, as Norm said, 2s and 2s and 3s and 3s. But yeah, I think we got to make sure we do something for the left tackle. Again, that's a pivotal position. But Derek, you always says McVay and the GM always have a plan. So we'll see.
I don't say they always have a plan. They usually, what I'm saying is they usually have these guys evaluated right. They usually let guys go at the right time. Usually. But even I'm like, to me, going out and getting Decker and having him in camp now makes so much more sense than him not being there. So I am wondering about that.
Yeah, give him 2 weeks to gel with the guys and get back in playing shape. I'm sure he's been working out, but he's not been in any training camp. So
The only thing that comes to mind is maybe they're actually convinced that he's not getting suspended.
yeah, I don't see that happening. But
He's getting suspended.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, that's just the only reason that I can think of that they would be like, "Yo, we're not getting somebody else." Because
No,
is there
he's getting
anybody else in that? I'm not saying
They're
I'm
gonna
not
wait
saying
for
they're not.
the first game and go 8-game suspension. I'm like what Norm says. I'm gonna go with the 8-gamer right before the season starts.
So
the one
if
the
that's
one
the
thing
case,
that we but the one thing we haven't talked about, which is a good thing, and you brought it up when we first started talking this season, and that is we haven't talked about special teams at all. And that's good. You know, our
there hasn't
kicker's
been a
been
few,
making
but,
his
yeah.
kicks, no blocks. I mean, so far so good on that, and that was a big problem last year. So, you know, between special teams, our quarterback being healthy, knock on wood, in training camp, having a deep running back room, Miles Garrett, maybe Aaron Donald, still lots of great stuff. We just got to get this left tackle thing figured out, and then just hope we got no injuries before the season starts.
So one last thing before we get out of here in terms of the two things. The receivers, you mentioned them earlier. Now we have Mr. Daniels. He did 8 catches, 68 yards. Is it safe to assume these guys he's going to win a spot in this roster at this point?
I think so.
Is it safe to assume that?
At
Yeah.
least on special.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
What have you mentioned him last week, Norm? Let's go back. What has you so excited about CJ Daniels? What has he been doing?
I went back and watched a lot of his college tape, and I also follow him on YouTube, so I see a lot of his workouts that he does and stuff. But this guy's catch radius and catching ability is insane. He's made some crazy catches. He runs crisp routes. He's a bigger kid, so he's not a small guy, which I like. He's got great hands, great footwork, and I think once he learns this offense and gets comfortable with his timing, he can be every good as anybody else we have below Devontae and Puka. And maybe someday might be something. I see a lot of good things in this kid's future.
Deuce, Coach, any thoughts on CJ?
Yeah, I just like his physicality. So I think he brings a lot of just that, run first block presence that, is going to be demanded of all of our receivers. We know in the McVay offense, it's important for the receivers to be good blockers. And so you've seen that. You've seen him make catches, run good routes. So overall, I just think he has a good all-around skill set, but I do love the physicality aspect of his game a lot.
Yeah, I diddle that. And he played at the U, Miami, but at 6'2", a little over 200 pounds. Again, Norm said, great size, do saying a physicality, but he was a 6th-round pick. So he's a guy that's probably a little more hungry than the other guys. And so when you got guys that are a little more hungry, they're going to practice hard. They're going to play hard. They're not going to take games off. And so I sense he's one of those guys. So again, let's go back to what you're saying, Derek. Maybe they snuck another one in.
What they do. It's what they've been doing. Last thought. Anybody on defense yesterday that stood out to you at all? We saw the play, but anybody you guys think made enough to earn himself a spot in this roster, maybe an impact player?
Not really.
Anybody?
I think Wesley Bailey stood out, obviously made some good plays, a fumble, a sack. So he may be somebody that can emerge. We definitely can utilize some more help at the linebacker position. So he was somebody who stood out to me, and he was just involved all day when he was in.
Come on now. Of course, you have a zillion Hamilton, Fresno State, watched him play, got some good size. He's going to come in there and take somebody's job.
All right. So there you go. The Rams' last preseason game is this Thursday night, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. I wouldn't expect a post game from us on Thursday. Expect probably something on Friday or Saturday. Guys, any closing thoughts or anything NFL, not just the Rams, anything NFL from that you're seeing heading into now the week 3 of our preseason? Anybody?
Not really.
I'm interested to see what happens with Mahomes, if he's going to be starting week 1 or not. That's an interesting thing for me because the quarterback situation there, after him, dicey.
I actually want to see what the Jets may end up doing. I understand Aaron Glenn is taking back over the defense, so that'll be interesting. But I don't know which Geno's going to show up, or I don't know. It just seemed like the Jet thing that's a snake bitten type of situation.
And K. Klubnik's been turning heads there, so don't be surprised if he pushes Geno out that number 1 spot.
We were talking about before the show started. I'm interested in what happens in Cleveland. Like Deshaun Watson, we thought he'd be done, and he's still there, and had an awful game on Saturday. Shador Sanders, who's gaining in popularity in Cleveland, by the way. There's a lot of Sanders jerseys in the stand there. Does he earn the number 1 spot? Apparently, he's supposed to announce tomorrow on Monday, the 24th. They're supposed to announce who earned this spot, and I think it's going to be him. And what makes the Browns interesting is they have kind of behind the scenes been building a roster for the long term there. I know we've been saying that for years, but like if they get some quarterback play, they might surprise the league this year with a very weak schedule. The other team that I'm kind of watching and that's interesting to me is Miami. Not for anything good this year. I think they're going to be historically bad. I mean, like awful, worse than the Browns a couple of years ago, kind of bad. Yet they have a whole bunch of stuff they're stockpiling for the future. So I'm kind of interested in seeing what happens there because, I think Miami's going to be bad. It's going to be a bad football team. Everything we're seeing through 2 games in the preseason is awful. So I see Deuce shaking his head. Now that I've said those, anybody else want to throw some things in? Some early observations?
Well, this isn't so much football, but I was able to make it down to Leroy Irvin. They had a memorial service this past Friday, and man, it was a great time seeing all the guys. But one thing I learned about Leroy is he wore braces until he was 4 years old. He was never really supposed to be able to walk, let alone play football. So to climb the ladder, not be recruited too much out of high school, go to Kansas, play with him and Nolan Cromwell, and then to become an all-pro in the league and just, magnificent. So it was a great homegoing celebration for number 47. So shout out to Leroy, RIP, and just was glad to be able to play a number of years with him and learn a lot. So anyway, shout out to Leroy Irvin.
Very cool.
That does remind me. We had the guy who did our theme song, John Thompson. Y'all been thinking about him as well. He's dealing with cancer, and so we want to keep him in our thoughts and prayers, as well as the guy who's followed both our podcasts for years now. John's been listening to Rams Talk Radio since the very beginning, so I want to keep in mind. In the meantime, guys and gals, follow us on X at Talk Rams, me at DC Apollo, Coach at 1do23, Norm at Big Hoss DP, and Deuce at Mikey_rocks5 on Instagram, the Reds. We're out of here. Have a great one.